OC. It's going to be great. It's going to say how we need to move forward with it. The other thing is that Mr. Stowe works with Echo Northwest. And if we remember from the OC, it's going to be great. It's going to say how we need to move forward with it. The other thing is that Mr. Stowe works with Echo Northwest. And if we remember from the, it's going to say from the, it's going to say,
There we go.
you're sure about it? Okay, I'll go forward. So from the it's going to say,
There we go.
you're sure about it? Okay, I'll go forward. So from the it's going to say, Debbie, are we going to be able to edit this going forward in the recordings? You sure? Okay. 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 I would just say that the numbers that were being used by Mr. Stowe were provided by Echo Northwest. And so I would take a second look at those numbers. Again, just due to the fact that when they produced the homeless report, there were some questionable numbers that were used. So other than that, I would just say, I just think there's more education that needs to be done on this topic. And like I said, I think it's really important that we are known as a business-friendly city, but to also practice good business practices. Thank you.
Thank you. Comments or questions from council? Deputy Mayor Martinez.
I don't have a problem with you being part of Eco Northwest. I think we've learned to just double check and things were corrected. So, yeah, that's my comment.
Alicia DeLuigi, you put as a, yeah, this is a regular session. I'd like a little clarification on your what you'd like to talk about. You didn't quite give any information there.
Yeah, usually I put Alicia DeLuigi, if it welcomes the council. Lisa from Moses Lake. Yeah, I'm sorry. Usually I put like a whole bunch of things, but because I showed up late and I was more interested in what the gentleman had to say with regards to the, what's it called again, TIF? Yeah, and I had to use a ladies' room before I came back here. I just didn't have time to write down the things I wanted to say. I just want to make sure that the council got my email with regards to, I'm going to go ahead and take a hiatus at this moment with helping the city of Moses Lake out. My focus is on legislation on a state level and on a federal level, and I'm a little bit disappointed in some things. I also would like to thank the gentleman for coming over here. I greatly appreciate the information that you provided, your studies and statistics, as well as your stories. Thank you. I do have concern though with future growth with regards to our water issues. And I want to make sure that these gentlemen are fully aware of the water depletion issues that we have in this area and the funding that's we need here. And I'll go ahead and touch base with you on a more executive level later. And there's a few other things, but I don't feel like talking about them right now. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Owen Miller.
Hello, council. My name's Owen Miller. I'm at 825 Sand Dunes Road. I had a couple things to discuss. One is the development in the wetlands there, or the proposed development. All the information that I've read that from the city has buffer zones that are about a third of what I find on the Eastern Washington website for the same characteristics of wetlands. Same habitat number, same category number, everything, which seemed kind of strange. The other thing is those wetland studies were done in 2021. The city received a letter 3/24 of 21. That was the wetland delineation. They also, and it's 6.47 acres. So out of 281,000 square feet, only about 55,000 is buildable, and they want to put 9 homes in. The homes go back way deep in between the wetlands. Residential is deemed one of the highest impacts on wetlands because of lighting, noise, animals, chemicals on your lawn. There's just a lot of it requires shades on your lights so they don't shine in the wetlands. It's just a lot of impact to the wetlands, and they're getting really close to them. So that's 6.47 acres. The letter that was sent in January 26th of 23 by the same person that did the study, same parcel number, says the area surveyed is approximately 16.5 acres. And the proposed action for this site is a 4-lot short plot. I called the person that sent this letter and asked him why it says 16.5 acres and a 4-lot when they're going, the proposed land sign says 9 lots and it's 6.47 acres. And he says, oh, I must have made a mistake. That was it. Aside from the wetlands, I think it would be responsible to curb some of the home building. Since interest rates are high, they're probably not selling as good till we can get our water situation squared away. When I got the letter with the water bill saying that they wanted people to water on odd and even days because of their address or their in relation to odd and even, and they're talking about aquifers, Spokane's even worse. They're having problems. Their aquifers aren't getting filled up fast enough for what they're using. And, you know, I never went to college except School of Hard Knocks maybe, but, you know, I never got money from my parents. They never gave me any. If I went over budget or went in the hole, I had to dig myself out. And that was gave me a lot of respect for what they did. But we can dig ourselves in a big hole, but if we start having to ration water severely and we can't get it, we're in trouble. So, but the development on sand dunes was the biggest concern of mine because that's a lot of wetlands. And it was developed as 1 lot. It was sold in 2020 for $60,000 or $59,000 as 1 lot. It's in our HOAs, in our CCRs. To make 9 lots out of that one is very irresponsible. Because I mean, it backs up to the state wildlife property. It's basically part of it. So it just doesn't make sense. But thank you for listening to me.
Councilmember Scott.
Well, I didn't get exactly where the location of that.
It's Sand Dunes Road.
Okay.
And it's lot.
You have to step up to the mic. Sorry, we have to have it on the record.
It's lot 15, Westlake Shores Phase 2. And if you go down Sand Dunes and go into the dunes, it's on the right-hand side, which everybody figured was state wildlife area. But there is one sliver of land there that was developed with our community. So I don't know what the address is, but it's parcel number 11-1885145. And the owner is Jeremy Nolan.
Okay, thank you.
Deputy Mayor Martinez?
Where is this particular development in the process? Is this just a
This-
dream or?
This is in the SEPA stage, so what he received would be the ability to provide public comment. Usually written comment is preferable with SEPA, so that it can be taken into consideration before the SEPA determination is issued. And then it will have to actually go through the plating stages itself for a short plat, which would go through another stage, but ideally, these don't come before council. Submitting written comment to the community development department would be, okay. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else from the council? Okay, thank you for your comments. I do not have anything to add on the mayor's reports. Does council wish to have any business brought to a future meeting? Hearing none, we can move on to the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll make this quick. I got a few items. First is the 2024 Moses Lake legislative agenda. I think you've seen it now 2 or 3 times. I need, if you're good with it, without any changes the way it is, the council make a motion that we can adopt that and I can move that forward to AWC. If there's any questions.
Deputy Mayor Martinez?
If something still comes up, are we able to change it, add to it?
I would see, I wouldn't see why we couldn't. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Need a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Need
To
a
approve the
second?
legislative agenda.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on the item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, Mayor. I have another agenda item, or excuse me, another motion item, and that is that you received an email today with the covenant from Lee Street. If hopefully everybody had a chance to review that. It was a little late. But if you're okay with it, we would ask for a motion to accept that also.
Deputy Mayor Martinez?
Is this that property that's half burned down?
No,
No.
this is one across from like the Jehovah's Witness Church.
That's a truck parking lot.
Yeah, next to the truck parking lot area. Yeah. Yeah. It's a single family residence that they want to tear down and turn it into a multifamily residence. So it's, and I hate to say this, but it's the residence where we had the homicide, the young kid that was killed on Lee Street a couple, 2-3 years ago. It's that house.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Scogin?
The only thing I would say about that Lee Street is the truck parking on there is that because there's no curbs and sidewalks?
Councilmember Scott, I know that there's trucks there, but I can't answer that for you. I haven't been by there in a while.
Most of that property is already developed, or that area is already developed. What would be the improvements needed?
So, and I'll answer, but Brian's here, that this, because they're doing improvements there, this would be a covenant that they would have to help pay for half the street improvements, half the sidewalk and half the curb in front of their residence. But because it's all gravel right now, we're just looking for a covenant so that when we do the improvements, they cover their portion. So.
That's what I was gonna add. So that portion of Lee is a gravel road. The address is 1613 West Lee Street.
Unfortunately, we're just looking to create another covenant
Yeah.
that we're really trying to get away from, to be honest with you.
Any other comments or questions? Accept a motion?
I so move we issue the covenant,
Yeah,
accept the covenant. Thank you.
we generate the covenant.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Manifest the covenant.
Exactly. whatever the terminology is.
Divine the covenant, however you'd like to come about getting it in place.
And Councilmember Skog seconded that motion, okay? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. I've got two more things. No more motions though. TBD, I just wanted to bring to your attention that, in July of last year, the state legislature allowed, councilmatically, councils across the state to enact a 0.1% of sales tax, increase for TBDs. We already have TBD in place. It's been in place for, I think it was 2018, somewhere in there. 10-year window, it'll have to go back out to the voters. If the council were to adopt this 0.1, that would just jump in line, and then in 5 or 6 years, when it goes back to voters, this would just be added to that. The current 0.2, so it'd just be 0.3 that they'd vote on. Given the fact that we've got a lot of roadway improvements that we need to do, we mentioned earlier the 17 Yanazawa improvement. Obviously, you've heard about Wheeler and L, that we've got some issues out there that we need to do something with. And frankly, I've seen a lot of covenants in the city. Another one tonight on these gravel roads around the city, and I would love to be able to start paving some of our gravel roads, calling in some of these covenants, and improving some of our neighborhood streets, and getting away from gravel. So an extra 0.1% in sales tax could generate the city an additional, say, $600,000-700,000 a year in revenue that we could then turn around and put into our streets. And so I'm not looking for a motion tonight. I will put it on the agenda next meeting if the council thinks that it's a good idea for me to bring back. If that makes sense. I see a lot of head nods. Okay.
Could we get a revenue projection on that? I mean, what is it gonna get us?
Like I said, I think 0.1, we've Madeline and I've talked about this. 0.1 brings in about $600,000-700,000. Yeah. And given our sales tax the last couple of years and construction going on, now is a good time to implement that. So anyway, I will bring it back on the December 12th agenda for more of a discussion. Gives you a little chance to talk about it, or think about it at least. And then my last item is, and this goes back to the emails that I sent you all last week about public comments. I'm just throwing this out there because if this were to happen in Moses Lake, I want to have at least an idea on what we're going to do or how we're going to respond to the comment should it happen. And so, so I'm throwing this out there for a discussion. Do we want to leave well enough alone and just leave it the way it currently is? And if somebody gets on public comment and starts speaking with some of the issues that have gone around the state, we just let them go? Or do we want to limit it to agenda items? And that way, if they get off topic, off the agenda item, then we can mute them. Or no comments at all, which I don't think that is necessarily the way anybody wants to go. So the two things would be either leave it the way it is, and if somebody gets on there and starts speaking, we just let it go. Or we go to an agenda item, topic, comment, period. So again, I'm throwing this out there for you to kind of give me some direction on.
Personally, not in favor of limiting the ability to speak. I think this is a great opportunity for people to come and express some issues, and it's happened in the past. Gang violence was not an agenda item. We've had issue with their house getting egged, that they wanted attention brought to it, that they didn't feel like they were getting enough help. I mean, there's on and on of issues that have been brought to us that we weren't aware of. And it's just an outlet for citizens to be able to speak their mind. Councilmember Fancher.
I would agree. I've been thinking about this and I don't want to limit it. However, I do think you making us aware that it's happening and not far away even, that I think at some point it would be unfortunate that happened and that we had to make it a change. But on the same token, we can't let that take over our meeting.
And I will tell you this, what some agencies have done that have let it play out, let the comments be said, then afterwards that they just put out a little public not announcement, but some sort of a release that says we didn't condone what was said. But you know, it's First Amendment right to free speech, and they exercise their right to speak, and we didn't like what they said, but it is what it is. So if you're okay with that, we'll just leave it as is, and if somebody chimes in, then we can respond to it after the fact. Okay, you're good with that? Then I'm done. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Onto the consent agenda. All items are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. We did pull item B for discussion under new business. Just need a motion to approve the consent agenda minus item B.
I move to approve the consent agenda minus item B.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We have no old business scheduled, so we can move on to new business, and we will kick it off with item number B. And Councilmember Skog, you had a comment or question on claims and payroll?
Madeline, they're mostly kind of questions for you. Couple of things is the way the payroll or the way the checks are written in the ledger, and they just go by number, or by actually number and in alphabetical order. One thing that would be helpful for me when looking at that, particularly when there's a one name and there's an amount with that, but that's for this pay period or this check writing period, but it doesn't give me any feel for what is the year-to-date expenditures we've made with them. For example, Martin Law, there's a $81,000, $609 check that got written. I think last month it was 40 something. I'm having a hard time specifically with that one. There's $120,000. I don't even know what the year to date is unless I went back to every, previous packet and added those up. I would like to know, and like I said, a year to date column for that. And I guess as long as I'm on the Martin Law, are we getting any bounce for the buck there?
Well, we're going to talk, I think, in exec session about where we're at with that tonight, because we're at a point now where we've got to make some decisions.
Okay, so they're busy doing something.
This is, Martin Law is handling our PFAS mitigation, the lawsuits that we have with the PFAS companies, 3M and DuPont.
Okay.
So tonight we're going to talk about that in exec session because we've got to make decisions by Friday.
I mean, that's not this ongoing 30-year.
No, this is just for this specific topic.
Okay.
So.
I had a couple others. A lot of pro services. I get professional ones. Is that? I'd like to kind of see what, if we could put those together like ASC. When we see planning pro services, I don't know exactly what the planning of what. I would kind of like to, I would be interested in what are those professional services applied to. It just seems like there's a lot of them, and we look at that and go, okay, we write the checks. I'd also be interested in the dollars that are spent addressing homeless issues. Where right now we see one build a Hope Source, and we see a bill to the rental equipment place, and we see a bill to security, and they're just listed alphabetically. But I would sure like to see, when we take all those individual bills, what do we put into the homeless situation or funding that, and particularly on a year-to-date basis, not just monthly. So it would just help me look at this and not just think, well, there went, what, $1.2 million, and what did we get for it? So I would I would like to see that on this report.
We can work on
Okay.
modifying it and
Okay, thank
giving
you.
you more information.
And I would invite, just not you, Councilmember Scott, but any council member, if you have questions about anything on the ledger, get a hold of Madeline or her staff, and she can fill you in on what the expense is, and if you've got questions about year to date and stuff like that, she can get that to you then.
Deputy Mayor Martinez?
I have asked Councilmember Scott for a clearer picture of what exactly we're spending on the sleep center to include utilities, all of that. I still haven't received that. It's been a few months.
We were awaiting our new housing and grants manager to start, and when we selected her, we knew she couldn't start for a few months, and she will be introduced at the next council meeting, and I'll have her working on that.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments on this item? Do you need a motion to approve?
Make a motion, we approve it.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Item number 2, tax increment financing district analysis, presented by Rich Hubner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will be brief since you had an hour-long presentation on this topic this evening. So as I mentioned in my introduction of that item during the study session, before you this evening is a proposal for council to direct staff to negotiate a contract with Stowe Development and Strategies to conduct a project analysis for the Desert Point development. So just a quick update and intro for council. The Washington State Legislature authorized local government agencies to enact TIF through their passage in 2021 of engrossed substitute House Bill 1189. So to just address the comment that was made during citizen comments earlier, the requirement of blight areas was in the TIF law, the previous version. So the 2021 version that was enacted through ESHB 1189 does not require blighted areas in order to be enacted for that area. As Mr. Stowe mentioned during his presentation, a project analysis is required under ESHB 1189. That report, that analysis is required to be prepared by the local agency that is considering enacting the TIF district and to be submitted to and approved by the state treasurer's office. So when there was a comment about not being sure what the city is going to learn, that is a required step. So even if there's concern among the council of is there going to be anything new that we learn through this process, it is required by that statute in order for the council to move forward. And I would also just mention that the city manager and I met with Mr. Hawkins and Mr. Edwards last week in preparation for the presentation this evening. We did talk with them about the water status of our aquifer and the impact that this development would have on our water situation. So the developers are very aware of that and are looking forward to working with us on opportunities to ensure that there is adequate water for their development and that they are not a negative impact on that situation. So as I mentioned, you had the presentation earlier. The proposal is for development of a land parcel in the city of just under under 100 acres. That proposal includes 21.56 acres of multifamily housing and over 300,000 square feet of retail, along with other ancillary development. So as discussed, the project is in need of new roads and infrastructure in order to be successful, and that is what led us to the TIF proposal that you have considered this evening. So staff is proposing executing a professional services agreement with Stowe Development and Strategies to assist in completing the required project analysis. The proposed cost of the agreement is $65,000, of which the developers are proposing to split the cost equally with the city. So the city's outlay would be $32,500. And that concludes my report, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Deputy Mayor Martinez.
You sort of answered my question. I was wondering who the analysis, who was going to do the analysis and how that was determined.
Mr. Stowe, through his company, will collaborate with city staff. So we'll provide all of the data that he needs in terms of demographics, and the developers have already developed a proposed cost for the project. So that'll go through the city process to ensure that we agree with, their cost estimates. So it'll be a collaborative effort between the consultant, city staff, and the developers providing necessary information. So Mr. Stowe is going to be coordinating the effort, getting the information that he needs. And then through his expertise with 5 other TIF developments, he'll be putting together a very robust report that will go to the state treasurer for their approval, their review and approval before moving forward.
So because Mr. Stowe has experience, knowledge, maybe expertise, if he's successfully done 5.
Most definitely.
That's why he or his company was chosen then?
That's correct. Yeah, given he was brought forward to us by the developers, but we had meetings with him to understand his background, to use your exact word, Deputy Mayor, his expertise in this field. As you can tell from the passage of the law in 2021, it's relatively new. But in addition to the 5 cities that Bob has worked for, I believe he mentioned in his presentation, the Port of Pasco has also established a TIF district and is leading directly to the construction of a Darigold facility in Pasco. So it's relatively new, but a lot of government agencies in the state are jumping on it. And after the city manager and I met with Mr. Stowe and really got a solid understanding of his expertise in the field, to your point, that's why he was selected.
Okay. I guess in a roundabout way, I'm just trying to figure out the connection with the developers that Mr. Stowe has, and does that have any, will that give him preference to the developers? Is he a neutral party, or is he?
He's
half the developers.
He is absolutely a neutral party. He had been consulted by the developers. They did recommend him, but he is not tied to the development itself. He is completely a neutral party. His company is a neutral consultant. They are not tied to any in the development process in any of the 5 that they have consulted on. So he knows the developers, but will not be benefiting from the development in any way.
All right, thank you.
Councilmember Fancher.
So I would agree. I mean, in the sense that I believe the report from packaging the product is going to tell us a good story to do the best we can to secure the approval. I mean, we can make it as rosy as we want. I think the question is, are we ready to commit to doing a TIF financing? This isn't gonna get us any additional information on, is this the right path? I mean, I think it's a matter of, are we ready to do it? I mean, do we spend the 32.5? You guys are willing to put up 32.5 right now and think that they want to go, but are we gonna collect 32 or spend 32.5 of your money and then all along not do the TIF financing deal? I mean, that's what we have to come to me with terms of, are we all in to go down this path? Because I don't want to spend your money just to get a little bit of money and we're not going to do it. I mean, I think that's the question we have to ask us right here. Is this a path? Are you comfortable enough with, am I wrong that these guys they already told us how it works.
Correct.
There's nothing more to add to it, right?
Yeah. Can I jump in?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what, by virtue of Deanna going down that path of questioning and all of that, that's really what we're saying. And to Victor's point as well, I mean, the story is going to be told in such a way that, hey, you can go do this thing. That is what's going to happen. We understand that. It's just how much, flavor do you have for the potential risk in this? And I tend to agree somewhat with Victor in that nothing is risk-free in life, Well, it is, but you're not having any fun.
Sorry, go ahead, Councilmember.
And that was, what I think a lot of our questions were pointing to, why I asked, for instance, how many people have bitten the hook thus far? We just have to be comfortable with the idea that Moses Lake is growing generally. And that's in progress right now. So these are more or less support businesses to the other industrial growth that we have going on.
And what I would just add to this discussion, I would agree with Councilmember Fancher, with the way you described it is exactly the question that you're grappling with this evening. Just to reinforce, after you enact a TIF district, if you so choose in 2024, you have up to 5 years after that to actually issue the debt. So you as the legislative body, you can put whatever requirements you would want on the developers in that process. So if it's been mentioned tonight, Costco, Target, Madeline and I were discussing Fred Meyer. You as the council, whether it's a specific retailer or you have to have commitments from, businesses that are going to fill those two large retail spaces. Just hypotheticals that I'm offering here, but you as the council have the opportunity when you get to that step to put whatever development conditions you and the developer negotiate to help mitigate your concern about that. So the report's going to come back. It's going to tell you what information it has. That does not mean that you are then beholden as the legislative policymakers of the city to automatically do it. Then you move into negotiations with the developers. So absolutely, Councilmember Schwartz, I agree. Nothing is risk-free, but you have the opportunity through your negotiations with the developers to mitigate the city's risk as much as possible and make sure that you're comfortable issuing debt at a time when you are confident that the development is going to happen and is going to be a positive impact on the city.
Councilmember Scott.
I think in light of the dollars involved, $65,000 is a nothing burger. And neither is our $32,000 compared to other things that we've gotten input on. And I'm just thinking of the $60,000 we just spent on getting the airport appraised. So I'm going, what's $32,000? And to not approve it today just makes the project stop right now. So I think it would be foolish to not do it in understanding, Mr. Lombardi's concerns. And, there's risk. I probably tend to be not so averse to risk as some, but I think it also, it shows our confidence in the growth and the potential and the possibilities of Moses Lake, to at least put in $32,000 and say, where do we go from here? So I would make a motion. That we make a motion to contract with Stowe Development as presented.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, we have a second. Deputy Mayor Martinez, continue discussion.
Well, I was just going to go on the record to say that, again, I agree with Councilmember Skog. Again, I think the 32,000 plus that we're going to invest in this analysis is well worth the money, considering we have done all sorts of other consultations and analysis and spent much more money on those things that, didn't necessarily come to fruition, but that's the whole point of an analysis. So I'm ready to vote. Thank you.
Do you have a motion and a second? Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 3, 2023 Budget Amendment Ordinance 3040, presented by Madeline Prentice.
Good evening. Before you, you have the final year-end budget amendment for 2023 budget. And most of these have been presented to the Finance Committee over the past 3 months since the last budget amendment that was provided. In many cases, these are budget amendments. They're transfers between departments where one department paid for something that another department had budgeted for. So we're now moving that budget to the department that paid for it. Or that we've missed things in the budget that we now need to correct. And then, of course, there are some new initiatives that were brought forward to Finance Committee. So again, there's a list of everything and then narrative in your packet. If there are any specific questions that I can answer, I'd be happy to do that.
Any comments or questions from the council? Hearing none, I'd accept a motion.
So moved.
Thank you. Second,
Second.
we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. Mayor, the clerk didn't catch who the second was on that one?
Thank you.
I just want to add that I think, discuss all of these in our Finance Committee. So I guess for those who sit on the Finance Committee, it's not a surprise, but so just for your guys' benefit, it didn't like last minute come up. We've talked all year long through these things. Yeah.
Moving on to the administrative reports.
Thank you, Mayor. I believe we only have one from Doug.
That's only because I like talking so much. I have two things for you, actually. I remembered one as I was getting my thoughts together for the first one. It's only a presentation with 500 slides, so we're good. Just a reminder to council and to the community that we have 2 park design open houses coming up over the next 2 nights. We will be meeting with the Sun Terrace community at Larson Recreation Center tomorrow night at 6 p.m. We've issued invites through the schools and sent it out through any social media aspects that we can find, and worked with some residents in that area to try and get information out. So 6 p.m. at Larson. If you live in the May Valley area, we are looking at designs for Sun Terrace Park over there. On Thursday at 6 p.m., we will be at Longview Elementary School in the gymnasium, and we will be reviewing Longview Park design options on gathering input from that community. If you live in those 2 areas and you can't make it out, we'd prefer you make it out to the open houses because then we can answer questions, give you feedback, give you information. But if you can't make it out, these designs are also posted on the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Services webpage, and you can email comments to us through the email link there. So we're looking at closing that out by the end of the week this week on December 1st. So those comments are open now. We will happily take them. And then the final thing I wanted to remind everybody of is this Friday, December 1st, is the Ag Parade and Street Party put on by DMLA. Street party begins at 5 p.m. and the parade starts at 7 p.m. And I believe we have a number of people in this room who will be judging that parade. So thank you for your help with that. Thank you.
Mayor, that's all we have.
Doug, are the open houses going to have second languages, additional?
Sorry, yes, I should have mentioned that. All the designs on our website and labels are all in English and Spanish, and we will have Spanish and English speaking interactive people there to be able to answer questions at the open houses.
Thank you.
Speaking of the Ag Parade, Judge Judy will be there. Deputy Mayor Martinez, I believe you're, and myself as well, just making sure that we don't
And
have another council member.
Victor will be there also.
Victor,
but
okay.
he's-
But you're not an official council member yet.
He's in
Okay,
purgatory at the
We're not a quorum yet. Okay, just wanted to make sure. Is that all you have for administrative reports? Okay, moving on to the council committee reports. We'll start with Councilmember Swartz.
I have nothing this time. Thank you.
Councilmember Madewell,
I don't have anything. Thank you.
Councilmember Fancher,
I had 2 different committee reports. One on the Economic Development Council. We had a meeting, guess that was last Wednesday. Gosh, weeks are going fast. And a lot of things going on there. They did just have an announcement. We keep talking about labor labor things going on in our community. Those that know or know of Rochelle Lang, who was working there, is leaving the EDC to go to Group 14. So here we go. But we'll wish her good luck. Lots of good things going on there. I think keeping an eye on all of the infrastructure impacts that are happening in all of Grant County is one of the main concerns right now, from water to sewer to power to everything. And then we had our Public Works Community Development meeting this afternoon, and talked about water. Seems like a major topic each time, which is great, but we have some really good news coming down the pipeline with a high producing well that should be coming on soon, out in the Wheeler corridor. A really good well. Let's just hope. You just got to get through the last piece, right, Brian? And then moving forward on a lot of projects, got a lot of good news on some permitting and some progress in community development, moving some projects through. So thanks.
Councilmember Scott.
I have nothing to report.
Deputy Mayor Martinez.
Watershed meeting was canceled due to the Thanksgiving holiday. So, but I do have a question, Brian. How soon is soon? When I think of soon, I'm thinking next month. Yeah, which is just in a couple
Not
days.
next month.
Okay.
So basically it's well 20. We did get good results as we talked earlier.
Mhm.
We were gonna regroup with Department of Health before the end of the year. And we will have more to come after we meet with them. We don't have a specific month narrowed down quite yet.
So 2, 3, 4, 6 months.
I'm gonna say 6 just to be safe, but not to say it could be sooner, not to say it could be later.
All right. And then I do have a question for Chief Bastian. Sorry. Is your fire department doing the Santa Claus riding through the neighborhoods on the fire engine?
We will be doing that. And let me see what day that's going to be.
I think the most important question is, does Chief Bastian play Santa Claus?
What do you think? That should be on the 16th of December.
Do you go through all the neighborhoods?
No, we try to hit neighborhoods in order. So like if we got a neighborhood last year, we'll try and hit another neighborhood this year. We just generally don't have enough time. We used to 30 years ago when we started this, we got to almost all of the neighborhoods, but city's gotten bigger and we can't quite do it in one day anymore.
So do we know where you're going? And I'm asking because I like you guys coming down my street.
I
seeing
don't
Santa
know
Claus,
exactly, but I will have our folks that do our social media get a map out and get that up on social media.
Good, yes, because I want to make sure my grandson sees you. Yeah.
Bet.
Yeah.
Well, we will also be in the ag parade. We will have our ladder truck in the ag parade, so they can see that there, and we'll be doing some things with CB Tech during the parade too. So.
All right, great. One more thing, sorry. Rich, I guess it's on to other pastures, not necessarily greener pastures. Because I can kind of be competitive that way. But I do wish you well. I appreciate the time that you've spent here with the city and the work that you've done. And I hope that there's much success in your future as city administrator of Sela, your hometown.
I thought I was gonna get out of here tonight, darn it. Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. And as I shared with the council members when I shared the news with you all individually, but I'll be quick this evening. But it was a very unique opportunity, as the deputy mayor said. It's my hometown. It's the place I grew up, and it's was an opportunity to contribute to the community that raised me, that formed me. But with that said, as I shared with you all when I was first introduced here, this is the community from which my family originated. My grandparents met at Larson Air Force Base. And so it was a very special and unique opportunity for me to come here last year. And it took at least an equally special and unique opportunity to get me out of here. And so I greatly appreciate your kind words that you have all shared individually and this evening. And I told Kevin if he had told me a month before that he was going to take the job, I might not be going. But I'm very excited for the city, for his leadership of the staff and this council where you're directing this city. So as I told the staff in my email to them, I will be rooting for this city, even as I take the lead in another, and I will be keeping an eye on all of your successes. And I'm sure we'll be collaborating on many things as Central Washington communities. So I tend to think of this not as a goodbye, but as a talk to you soon kind of a thing. So thank you all for the support and the encouragement in the last year. It's been a pleasure to be able to contribute to this community in the short amount of time I've been able to. Thank you.
Hey, is there somebody in building maintenance here? This chair's got to go. I can't keep it upright.
I wondered where that chair went away from, because I was usually the one that got it.
Every time I raise it, I drop back down.
We'll fix it. We'll get it fixed.
The only thing I have to add is GTA will be holding their budget hearing at our next meeting, December 21st, 6:30 at the Transit Center just down the road. Budget looks pretty good on their end. They are pretty good at getting grants. So if we can learn from them in their grant writing process, I think that would help us tremendously. The other thing is they're going to look at building the second half of the maintenance facility. So that's I think a $7 or $8 million project that will be commencing next year. So up at the operations building on the base. That is all I had.
Mayor, can I add one more thing? Just for the council. So I got notified, the mayor knows this last night, that the governor is in town for SELA. We had asked for a meeting. He doesn't have time, but they invited the mayor and I to the chamber meeting tomorrow from 12:30 to 1. They're going to hear from EDC and I think another group. And so we've got a few minutes to talk about water. So we're going to go chirp in his ear a little bit tomorrow for a little bit, just to try to get some support. So just FYI.
We will now be going into an executive session for 15 minutes to discuss potential litigation pursuant to RCW 42.30.110 parentheses 1 subsection I. There will be no action to follow and the meeting will adjourn